Welcome to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Hi everyone, I'm your host Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money gamer extraordinaire. Today we're talking about Middle America money management with nationally recognized Middle America money manager, Jim Silbernagle. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve.
Well, Jim, you are the country's, one of the top countries' money managers and asset preservation retirement specialist. I mean, I could just have all these names behind you. The reason I'm really interested in you is because you really deal in Middle America. You're not at the top of affluent. You're not reading Forbes 400, Forbes magazines, Money Mag. You're right in the middle of Middle America. Tell me right now, you've been in your practice for how long?
Man, I started in '85. So how many years is that?
Well, you're sitting there almost 30 years now. Yeah. That's 29 years. You're a certified financial planner. Yep. You deal in Middle America. Tell me, when you're looking at money management, especially in these days, I mean, right now it's been a pretty good market. Can't really complain, but I still remember 2008.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what is the number one thing that you have your finger on the pulse of Middle America when it comes to managing their money, especially when we're setting themselves up for retirement.
I think at the end of the day, they just want to feel secure. It's about the ability to be able to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. It's not about making 80% returns in so many years and those numbers. I think people get lost in all those numbers. Mm-hmm. They just want to know they're going the right direction.
What keeps a regular Joe awake at night when he's thinking about his money?
That he doesn't have enough. Will they be able to retire? What's going to happen with Social Security? Most of the clients that I'm working with are the last of the people to have a pension plan. And most of those plans have been frozen where they're getting maybe $100 a month or $200 a month. It certainly isn't what they thought it would be when they started working.
If you had to intercept a person that was on his timeline, how far back do I have to go to start really talking about saving, money management, understanding how to live within a budget?
Well, I think you can't start too soon.
So right out of college.
They should be talking about this. I volunteer for junior achievement. We talk about it in grade school. They need to know about it soon. I think today's society, I read a book a while back called Prodigal Son Material Girl, How Not to Be Your Child's ATM. And in that book, there was a statistic, and I don't know if I got this exactly right, but I think it was either 21 or 22 million messages by the time a child turns 18 about buy now, pay later, you deserve a break, you deserve this, you should have this. And it's this real consumer society where it's instant gratification. You look at our kids today, they grew up with computers. I know how to turn a computer on, and I know how to turn it off. And the way I turn it off, I use a sledgehammer until the thing goes off, but I haven't figured out how to turn it on again. But you look at our kids, they're raised in that society where they push a button, they get their answers. But it's not that way with retirement planning.
So if I'm sitting there today and I'm sitting in 2014, and let's do the baby boomers first. The boomers are sitting there, they have some money. We've done all right, but 2008, we had a big wake-up call.
That's right.
The values of our homes went down. We were really depending on that. That's a play. We're thinking about, and I've seen a new movement now, a lot of boomers are thinking about, hey, we're not going to retire at the full age for Social Security at 66. We may push that back and get that 8% simple all the way out to age 70. Have you seen that same trend in your practice? In most Middle America, are they thinking about going beyond the traditional age 66 or 67?
Yeah, I think that's happening quite a bit today. It may not be continuing in their career. It may be a transition to maybe working at the golf course or maybe doing some consulting work in their field. But there's a lot of opportunities. And what's amazing when you do the calculations is how big of a difference it makes those last few years. I think back to when it was early in my career, the ideal was maybe retiring at 50 or 55 because the market was just going gangbusters back in the 90s, and everybody was thinking, it's all going to be easy. We can draw 10% a year and still have our accounts grow. Well, we've definitely had a couple wake-up calls along the way. And I think the thing is, as people are looking at that, by just not drawing on those accounts for a few years, it may not be that you're still able to save and build the retirement, but just not drawing, from 60 to 65 or 66 or 70 can make a huge difference on how secure that retirement
So
is.
even if I wasn't contributing, at least I just let it go into deferral.
That's right.
Now, I've noticed that a lot of money managers are using the new number. It used to be 6, then it went down to 5. Now we're saying, I'm trying to live on 4% income off my portfolio. Is that realistic?
I think it is. I used to use 5% for many, many years, and now with this perpetually low rate, bonds are probably not going to be the investment it's been over the last 30 years. We're at the lowest interest rates ever. Bonds don't generally do well in rising interest rate scenarios. I think stocks, the ability for stocks to make money going forward, if we're going to have higher tax rates, higher regulations, the profitability to be looking at the last 70 years and think we might repeat it, I think there's going to be some challenges in that. And I think, if you have too much money in retirement because you use too small of a number as an expectation, that's something we can usually work out. But if we don't have enough, that is a problem. So I think people need to scale back their expectations somewhat.
We come back from the break. We're going to continue these discussions because I think middle America is probably the most forsaken of all this sector in our population. And we really want to know how to make our dollars stretch when we're talking about our retirement, and especially if we're going to be living longer. We'll be right back.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged indexed universal life, from one of the largest distributors of indexed universal life, Ash Brokerage.
Well, welcome back to our second segment. I'm with certified financial planner Jim Silbernagle. Jim, you're talking about retirement monies in middle America, and we're talking about living longer. I'm going to have to talk about long-term care, which I don't like to talk about, and I have to think about, is my money going to last? And I already know I'm going to have to sign up for Medicare, right, at 65. I might have to look at long-term care even though I don't want to because I'm going to be living so long, at least assisted living at the minimum. Talk about how do you plan when you're kind of middle America and you're not really affluent and you don't have all these dollars. You learned how to stretch this money.
Yes. Well, the thing is having realistic expectations and not feel as though there's no hope. I mean, it's a matter of just starting. I had a couple in, and I think one of the key is understanding your cash flow. Most people say, I can sit down with a couple and in 2 minutes establish what their cash flow is. What'd you make? What'd you save? That difference is what their cash flow is. But most people don't understand where that money is going. I had one couple I sat down with, they were spending $1,300 a month, $1,300 on drive-throughs, okay? Because they're carting the kids here, carting the kids there, quick pick up a dinner at the fast food restaurant. And then you look at things like cable TV. My wife and I, we moved a year ago, and we're in a little bit of a remote area where there's a lot of trees, and we don't get TV over the air. And I just decided I did not want to spend the money on satellite because I looked at the amount of money you spend and what's really on there. Hardly anything. I run into clients that are spending $120 a month. They have movies on demand. They maybe watch 3 movies a month. So if you start getting in touch with where you're spending the money and you look at each category and say, hey, could I shave a little off here, a little off here? Before you know it, you've got $500 or $1,000 a month you could save. I had one couple come in, just amazed me. Their net income was $45,000 a year. He was putting away $1,000 a month. So nobody can tell me you can't do it. It's just a matter of prioritizing what you want to accomplish.
Okay, so let's say I'm going to prioritize it. And all our viewers today, our audience says, okay, Jim, I'm ready to kind of go. I might have to cut my lifestyle down a little bit, no more satellite. But I'm going to go through my entire spending, and I might look at my credit cards because that might be where I can see it all listed, and look at my checkbook, and now I see both of them. And I'm willing to start saying, I think it's sometimes, before I can make a priority, what can I cut? What can I actually take out that's really, it's really eroding my cash flow? Have you seen when you're meeting with people that there are things that they finally wake up and say, oh yeah, we're going to go through, that's off, we're going to stop that. We're going to, like you said, the satellite. Are they okay with that? Can they do that?
They can, and it isn't a matter of all or nothing. Maybe it's just a matter of going with something a little less substantial. And one of the easiest things to cut is taxes. When you have retirement accounts where you get a full deduction and there's a saver's credit, the average client that comes into my office can qualify for a saver's credit. The average one doesn't even know it exists. The accountants aren't talking about it because, let's face it, most of the time you go to your accountant, you drop your stuff off, then you go and pick it up when it's done, and what do you owe or what is your refund? I look at a lot of clients and I ask them, how much did you pay in taxes last year? Oh, I didn't pay anything. I got a refund. They don't even understand the withholding on their paychecks. So if you get into touch with where your money's going, it may not cost you any money to put away at all. And I use an example. I had a client come in a while back. He lost his job. His wife had a small business, and he had put some money into his 401k. And if he would have added $500 to his retirement, because when he came in, he says, Jim, I don't have a job. I can't afford it. But by putting $500 in, he qualified for a bigger percentage savers credit plus the deduction, got $750 back. So he got paid $250 in tax refunds to get $500 in his retirement account. So paying attention to those details. And I know everybody's busy. Everybody wants to, I don't have time to do this. But if you can't take the time to get secure financially, what else is it all about?
So it's a combination. I just heard you add, I'm always thinking of budget busting issues.
Yeah.
You're saying, hey, we're not even looking at taxes,
Right.
which could be a big game saver if you know how to do it right. Now, I don't think most of Americans would have known that tactic that you just brought up. If I just put $500, I could have saved myself and got $750 back.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, but, knowing when something happens, good, bad, or indifferent. Now, I'm biased. I'm an advisor. I believe everybody should have an advisor, unless you're an expert on all this stuff yourself. Don't go it alone. But what I find amazing, you look, most of middle America is in a 15 or 25% bracket, right? Well, I see them look at it and say, well, geez, what are your fees? A lot of advisors charge a 1% fee, or maybe it's a commission on a mutual fund, which might be 5.5%. Maybe it's other fees, and they look at that. Well, you look at all those fees, none of them are at 15 or 25%. Okay, so paying a professional to help you find those savings is huge.
So tax savings could be a big play. If we're really tight for money, that could be our first place we're looking.
Right, and then you look at, you talked about the 401k match. How many Americans are not taking advantage of it because they don't understand the power of that? Give yourself a raise.
I love that. Give yourself a raise, pay yourself first.
That's right.
Well, that's our show for today. I want to thank Jim Silbernagle for being our special guest and today's Money Mentor. And before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor or legal counsel. And remember, as the good Reverend John Wesley once said, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you next week.